在澳大利亚悉尼市中心的马丁广场，坐落着这样一座美轮美奂而又充满古典气息的建筑，它就是世界上最大的南洋珍珠供应商帕斯帕雷集团的旗舰店。今天，聚焦澳洲就带您走进帕斯帕雷集团，了解一下璀璨夺目的澳大利亚南洋珍珠。作为世界上唯一一种由活体生物孕育的宝石，珍珠既是价值连城的珠宝，还被当作药材使用，可以说是秀外慧中，自古以来一直备受世人的青睐与宠爱。珍珠养殖是一个年轻的行业，只有不到100年的历史。然而，人们潜水采获天然珍珠的历史却至少可以追溯到4000年前。成规模的采珠业最早出现在阿拉伯湾和马纳尔湾。12世纪时，马来西亚的商人们开始将苏绿的珍珠卖到印度和中东，而大约在16世纪，来自欧洲的殖民者在南美加勒比和巴拿马发现了珍珠海床，这里的珍珠大量进入欧洲市场。然而，到17世纪中叶，这些贝床已经因为过度捕捞而濒临灭绝。19世纪中叶，压缩空气潜水技术的问世，终于让采珠人可以接近澳大利亚西北部外海丰富的母贝海床。澳大利亚南洋珍珠也是在这时才开始向世人展现其璀璨的光辉。而伴随澳大利亚南洋珍珠走向全球的，也就是我们今天要向您介绍的帕斯帕雷集团。
My great-grandfather arrived in about 1919 in a very small town in Western Australia called Cossack. And my great-grandfather died very shortly after they arrived, leaving his wife with the 5 children to look after. The 2 eldest sons was my grandfather and his brother, and they went to sea and joined the pearling fleet when they were 16 years old and 14 years old. And so my grandfather started when he was 14. The pearling fleet moved from Cossack to Broome, and then the closest safe port for a cyclone from Broome is Darwin. And our head office is still in Darwin, and I'm still living in Darwin. My grandfather was really a natural pearler, so he was diving for the wild shell and finding the natural pearls inside the oysters. My father really pioneered the cultured pearl business. From the 1930s until the Second World War was really a boom period for the mother of pearl and natural pearl business. So then from the 1950s until the 1960s, this is where the cultured pearl business came back into play. It wasn't until really the early 1980s that they'd totally reinvented the way that they did the cultured pearl business, and this was largely my father's input. Yeah, my father's really great success was between when he joined the business in 1969 and the beginning of 1980s, when he'd got the basic building blocks together of how to successfully culture commercially the Australian South Sea pearl.
We do the whole process from diving to catch the shell, and we're all the way through to having a finished jewellery brand. The majority of our pearls, though, are sold on a wholesale basis to the world's markets. So 90% of what we produce is exported.
I think the biggest influence we've had on the industry was developing the culturing techniques. And what my father largely managed to achieve in overcoming the hurdles of culturing the Australian South Sea pearl has now been rolled out worldwide. So that's really been his contribution to the world of pearling. Well, it's very difficult to find another retail store like this. So this is 400 square metres, and I think the ceilings are 8 metres high. So we don't have any others like this. This is unique.
不难看出，帕斯帕雷的成长与澳大利亚南洋珍珠捕捞和养殖业的发展密不可分。那么，相比起其他种类的珍珠，南洋珍珠有着怎样与众不同的特点呢？帕斯帕雷集团执行董事彼得·布雷切是这样说的
Most of the world's pearls, especially the pearls coming from China, which is a large quantity, come from a freshwater mussel, and Australian South Sea pearls come from a saltwater oyster. Here I have a wild Australian South Sea pearl oyster, which is the largest species of pearl oyster, and you can see it has a beautiful nacreous, lustrous interior, and the pearl is exactly like that. This is a polished Australian South Sea pearl shell, and you can see the luster and the colour that comes through in the mother of pearl. And in China, of course, there's a large industry of freshwater mussel, which is a freshwater mussel, not an oyster. This species of shell, we only take one pearl at a time. It can produce only 1 pearl per oyster. It takes about 3 years. And these Chinese freshwater mussels can produce up to 100 pearls or more at one time. But Australia is the last place in the world producing pearls using a wild oyster. The area that we produce pearls in Australia is the northwest of Australia, which is a very remote and pristine and beautiful place, and it's the place where the wild oysters live in their natural habitat. Production of the pearl starts with divers catching these wild oysters in the ocean. The technicians then operate on the pearl. After the 2 or 3 year husbandry process, the pearl is harvested and then the grading begins. And pearls are graded according to the 5 characteristics, which are shape, colour, lustre and surface, and the nacre quality. What makes Australian South Sea pearls special is that they're ready to be used as soon as they come from the oyster. They are in their beautiful natural condition. If you look at a high quality pearl compared to a lower quality pearl, the difference is very obvious. If it looks beautiful, and if assuming it has natural colour and natural lustre, then it's a high quality pearl. High quality Australian South Sea pearls are kind of immediately recognisable. All of the pearls in this tray are of very high quality, but each one completely different to the other. And from a small round strand to a baroque, for some people a very interesting and attractive and natural looking shape. This is what Australia is really famous for, and especially Paspaley, is our large, high quality necklaces that nobody else can produce. This collection is something that we just build over the years, and each harvest, if we find one pearl that's very, very special in some way because of its incredible colour or lustre or some special shape, this is perhaps my favourite pearl because it's the colour. I think the shape is very interesting, but the colour and the rainbow colour on the surface is quite remarkable. This has been chosen because of its shape, as is this one. Yeah. This incredible long drop shape is very rare and unusual for a pearl to produce. Everything about these pearls is untouched. We haven't done anything to change the shape or the colour or the lustre. That's just as the oyster produced it.
珍珠的魅力虽然在很大程度上来自大自然的鬼斧神工，但要把这些自然的瑰宝打造成一件价值连城的珠宝，设计的作用也至关重要。帕斯帕雷创意总监克里斯汀·索特尔与我们分享了他在珠宝首饰设计界多年的体会。
Paspaley has a pearl-first design philosophy. So this means the pearl is always the hero. We always start with the pearl, and then the design flows from there. And that makes the pearl the hero in each piece. The beautiful thing about pearls is that they can actually be worn from day through to night, and so we try to create designs that can also achieve this. We try to achieve versatility in our designs because our muse for Paspaley Collections is the modern day woman with a dynamic lifestyle, and pearls being so adaptable for different occasions and day to night lends itself very well to this type of woman who goes from the office to a cocktail bar, or maybe even on a plane to another country. The same piece can carry her through to all events. Every pearl is unique. They come from the ocean exactly as they will remain for the rest of their lives. So we don't cut them or resize them. So we have to work within what nature provides us. One of the challenges for the design team is that every collection, every piece has to have a pearl in it. We have to make our collections look entirely different from each other to remain creative and fresh, but using the same gemstone. We begin the process with a lot of research. We research trends, both fashion and jewellery trends, new materials. Then we need to research inspiration, because a lot of people think that inspiration comes naturally or from thin air, but actually this too requires a lot of research and exchange of ideas. The prototyping phase presents a lot of hurdles, but I see that as a good thing because I think that anything great doesn't come easy. At the moment we're developing new ways to wear pearls where we don't have to put a drill through them, so that the wearer can actually wear a pearl that has absolutely no interference it's just come from the ocean, and that's how it remains. So this is a sketch, an initial sketch for our new Lavalier necklace, where the pearl can come in and out, and the wearer herself can take it in or out, so she can actually show her friends at a dinner party, for example, the pearl that she's personally chosen. This was inspired by seaweed that floats on the top of the water where the pearls are grown, and the way the sunlight sparkles on the ocean. It's a three-dimensional piece, so the diamonds are showing on either side. We like our designs to be timeless enough to withstand the changing trends, but also to remain fresh and creative.
帕斯帕雷打造的每一颗光彩夺目的南洋珍珠， 从它在海底孕育的那一刻，到最终来到消费者的手中，很多人都为其倾注了灵感、汗水和心血。展望这个3代家族企业的未来，帕斯帕雷的经营者们是这样说的。
The future for Pasipale in the pearl business, we're going to continue to expand our retail footprint. This is something we're very passionate about, and it gives us the opportunity to really tell the story of our pearl producing and wholesaling business to the end consumer, which is what it's all about.
We have a very well managed and carefully regulated fishery. We have a government regulated quota system to ensure that the wild oysters resource is protected and sustainable.
Every year we release several clasps like this. We've got everything from very simple and classic to quite brave and creative.
The cultured pearl industry is still in its infancy, so consumers still don't really understand pearls. Not like they understand diamonds and gemstones. So we have a lot of work to do in educating the consumer about what makes Australian South Sea pearls so special. And I think that's really our big job now for the next 10 years, 20 years, probably the rest of my life. But that's where I see our focus being.